Yes, folks, welcome along once again to the Left Wing Back Show, as Bill O'Hurley would say, live. We had some very generous listener who joined over the last week and got in touch with us, and we now have a sponsor for tonight, which we're absolutely delighted with, and that, of course, is On Point Performance Analysis. So we thank Ian Costigan for jumping on and giving us a bit of support. He's with us for tonight's episode and next week as well. You can, of course, get in touch with them. On Point Performance Analysis does provide, of course, video analysis solutions to sport teams of all levels. You can follow them on social media. The handle is On Point Performance Analysis. Get in touch with them by email as well, onpointperformanceanalysis@gmail.com. So very grateful to have a sponsor on board and to see someone having a bit of appreciation for what we're doing here is always very nice indeed. So plenty to get through this evening. We had, a number of exciting games, interesting games over the weekend, and it leads us into another weekend of intrigue because there's a little bit of sorting out to do still in one of the groups in the senior championship in terms of the relegation side of things. We also have some semi-finals in junior and intermediate to talk about. So who better to talk about with than Mr. Christy Bulger and Tommy Wogan. Tommy Wogan sporting a nice little backdrop there this evening. It is, of course, the Cara flag in the background. We're trying to bring him into the middle there. But how are you keeping, gentlemen? What's happening?
Oh, good, Kev.
So we'll start with Friday. We're going to go in, order of the games taking place first. And Steve Armbrick will be joining us there in a little while as well, just to offer up his opinion. We do believe he's got a broadband update in the last week or two as well. So we might actually be able to see him properly and hear him. We mightn't have background noise going on either. He had an able deputy there. So look, we might just tell the listeners and the viewers that we nearly had another Bulger on the podcast going live with us there, and it was great. She was very excited, wasn't she, Christy? In fairness,
he
was it?
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah. I apologise. The blondie head of hair, and it was hard to say. I do apologise, but look, I'll say one other thing. In the current environment, in the current world, it's very dangerous to say he or she anyway. So I'm covering myself with that one.
Yeah, he goes towards dishwasher, being labelled a dishwasher.
But you know what? He was mad for a road anyway because he had the what do you call it, the pod up to the ear and everything, and they were waving and the whole lot. And jeez, I tell you, I think you didn't know what was going on for a second, but we were saying we would have fitted in well here because we don't have fucking Lou half time either. So. Well, listen, great to have you on again, gentlemen. We will get stuck into the games, and just for everyone that has got in touch with us, I don't know about you lads, but my phone's been hopping the last few weeks about lads getting in touch.
Still hopping.
Loving what we're doing here. So it's nice to hear that. And sure, look, if you think we're doing shite, don't be afraid to let us know either. We're all about honesty here on the podcast, so we won't change our morals in that one. So we will kick it off with Friday, lads. So intermediate quarter final, St. Patrick's at Tullow up against Éire Óg, and we were saying kind of last week that Éire Óg were possibly hitting form at the right time. 3-8 to 9, I think, it finished in the end, and both of you guys were at that one. So Chris, I'll start with you. What did you make of it?
To be honest, Tullow looked like they were playing all the football before the water break. They looked really well organised. They looked in great shape, to be honest. And I suppose, they looked really well, and Éire Óg were just slowly getting into it. Éire Óg's backs, I thought, were very, very good throughout. I thought the full forward line for Tullow especially looked very lively, but after 10-15 minutes the lads got a handle of the situation. There was one or two kind of positional changes, people going man to man. Shane Buggy on Jack Kennedy just was immense. All the backs were really good. Murta was sick, I believe. He didn't play great. Kyler Burns coming into himself, he got injured unfortunately, and then we had James Carroll up front. Lads, if there's anyone looking at forward and his movement, it was exceptional. He actually kept Éire Óg in it for a long time because any ball that went in stuck, and it was great. And it was just then when the boys got a handle of timing their runs and getting forward to support them, then it really came in. Scoreline probably flattered. It was a tight game for a long, long time. And then I suppose we made one or two substitutions and really brought energy and life to the game. Especially Ben Crotty, I thought was very, very good. Adam McCarron is good. He's just getting better and better. As I said, James Carroll, he'd get in any senior team, I think. He's very unlucky say last year's championship with injury. I just, from a personal point of view, I was delighted to see so many young lads laying down their marker. Like some of these lads, the Mark Beans, Shane Buggies, they'll be senior footballers very, very soon. Adam Nolan's another one. Dean Hayden, excellent, really commanding a centre back, goes about his business really well. On, say, Tullo's side, like as I said, their 6 forwards look really lively, especially their front three. Then you had Dylan, Gorm Comfort, and TJ working back a lot, but covering some amount of ground. I just thought it was an entertaining match, frustrating at time if I had my Aero hat on, but at other times it was good to see some of, as I said, the younger lads really coming to the fore on both teams. That is now, because Tullow will be disappointed, but they've had a great year and they're moving in the right direction for me.
I suppose, Tommy, it was important from a Tullow point of view to. I know it's probably not much of a consolation. The lads are disappointed with the scoreline more than anything because they don't believe it was a fair reflection. And I think there's a good bit of merit in that. But like, if you look at it from the point of view of 2 teams going down, it made their task a little bit more difficult this year because, you're trying to stay up. That's your prerogative first and foremost. And when there's only one going down, you have an all right chance. When there's 2, it's a very slippery slope. So they've avoided that. From the get-go, actually, I did see a little clip. I was provided with the video, I have to say. I didn't get time to actually dissect it, and I would love to have brought it up here on the show tonight. We just didn't get time. Apologies for that. But from the get-go, I did look at the very start in particular where they picked off a beautiful score, the very first score of the game, and you're thinking, geez, these lads are laying down a marker now. So what kind of changed from that point on, Tom, or when did the tide turn?
I think the tide turned when Ben Crotty came in. He scored two great goals. That kind of changed the flow of the game, I thought. But I have to say, it's my first time to see Tullow this year, but I was very impressed with young Craig Staunton, full forward. That was very good. Anything that went in, he stuck. He looked lively, he looked dangerous. Like Jack Kennedy is Jack Kennedy. You're always going to have to marshal him and keep an eye on him. He's always good for a couple of scores for Tullow. But Brian Byrne in the corner as well. I thought Tullow. I liked the way Tullow had set up. They had 2 inside guys running from deep, and when they were picking up ball, they were picking it up in the score zone. So they were always a serious threat to the backs. But like what Chrissy said, it took a while. It took a little while for Aero to get to grips with them. But when they did get to grips with them, they started snuffed them out a bit, But I have to say I was impressed with Tullow. The way that the football we're playing was very good, And again, they're a team that stay at it. The future is bright for them if they can just stay at it. They're going to get bumps in the road as they go along with the progress along, but if they can stay at it and build on that to it, they're going in the right direction. As regards Aero, if you think of it, they lost Murta, they lost Kyle in the middle field, 2 big men. 2 seriously big lads in the middle of the field for Aero, and Johnny Fury was out of goal. There's 3 guys, serious guys that they lost, and they were still very strong. They finished it off very strong. So it was a good game. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very entertaining game.
That Kyle Burnchap has impressed me quite a lot, actually. I saw him. Geez, what game did I see him in a couple of years back? Was it a semi-final intermediate again? The Blues, was it? A couple of years ago. I think he was in full forward. We were in 8 or 9, but playing full forward. That chap is serious football,
Yeah,
he's a big unit, but you always think he's not at full tilt. When he gets the ball, he always seems to be kind of labouring that little bit on it. If he opened up them legs, and just goes, he'd cause all sorts of problems. But he's a great prospect for Aero. If he keeps working away at his game, he's definitely going to push the senior side of it.
I think as well. Say from Aero, I thought their backs were very good. I thought it was I thought it was getting the runners beyond the 45. That was the issue. That we got it so far, but yet we didn't look to really get into that scoring zone in numbers and try quick 1-2s. But
Derek Hayden Derek Hayden came out there once, out the centre forward, and he put in some sweet balls, really, really intelligent ball into the inside line, into Carroll and that. That James Carroll, as you rightly say, he is a good prospect for the future as well. He's a good lad. I'm impressed with him now.
But Tommy, you're right. When Ben Crotty came on, he attacked him.
Yes.
And that was the difference, because he was making the Tulla lads bite onto him and draw them in. And that created space where you're seeing a lot more of Evan, Shane Buggy, Mark Fury even hugging the sidelines and getting forward, creating problems, where it kind of wasn't happening in the first half. It was a bit laboured and looking for something or someone to do something, where in the second half it was a lot more cohesive. Like, Owen Byrne didn't play, John Gilligan came in, had a right good game. Very honest player. He gives you something. Ben Crotty, really good when he came in. Anthony Keaton. Yeah. He there's more in him, but still very good on the ball, very wise, very cute how he uses. And Owen Maddock. They just in Cottle Kelly works savage hard as centre forward. But he's doing the donkey work for some other lads, where if you had more of a creative player in there that allowed Cottle to sit back more into the midfield, I think you'd have a better run at going forward in numbers and getting scores.
You think Cottle Kelly played senior, was on the senior team a few years back, wing back, and Evan is another chap. Evan got man of the match in the county final. So them two lads have potential. They're good lads. But young McCarron, I got the chance to see him playing, and he's a sweet footballer. He really is a lovely footballer. I was impressed with him now. He's definitely one. That's if he keeps at his game, works hard at his game, he's going to push into the senior team.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the senior team then, lads, 2-17-year-old, 7 points to Tinryland. That's fierce disappointing from Tinryland's point of view, but at the same time, it's not entirely surprising given what we were talking about last week from the point of view of lads felt that Tinryland were a little bit open. So having seen that game, is that what happened? Were they as open as people said, or where does this game tilt, in fairness?
Well, to be honest with you, Kevin, I was so disappointed with them, with Tinryland. Tinryland has some really good footballers, but for some reason or other, they're not producing it. They're not producing it on the big day. Now people are saying I got saying to me that they weren't showing their hand. For God's sake, when you're playing year old, you don't go down that road. When I was involved with Air Oak, I wouldn't dare to go and do something like that. You go out and you win the game. You put your best 15 out on the field. Now, I know Paul Roderick was injured. Danny Moore didn't start. And then Cormac Walsh, it didn't start. The two guys didn't start from, But the most disappointing thing for me, from a Tinryland point of view, is they never put a hand on an Air Oak player. They never actually put a hand on an Air Oak player. I'm talking about in their backline. They didn't get in and get in among them, and get physical with it. And I come back to this again. If you're going to leave your backline exposed against Air Oak, they're going to punish it, and punish it bad. And I felt that's what Tinryland done. Tinryland's back was just wide open, and they allowed guys. You can't allow the likes of Ross Dunphy be floating in around the score zone and not having a man, getting a hand on him, and you're looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble. Having said that, Jordan Morrissey just from the goal was he was at it from the very start. He kicked some great points, terrific points in that game. But I'm just disappointed with Tinryland that there was no. It never looked like they were going to get at Air Oak, and then when they did start to attack Air Oak, it was going sideways. Now I go back to the podcast last week with you lads, and you're at training, and don't tell me that the Tinryland lads, Gerald Walsh and all these guys, when they're in training, that they're not taking on guys in training, taking them on hard with a bit of pace and finishing off with a score. Tinryland brought the ball down into Air Oak's 45, and then it was just locked up, and it just went sideways. They didn't penetrate it, and then inside they had a problem inside. Was that the movement inside in their inside forward line was very, very static. That there was nothing there for them to actually put the ball into. but they never looked to take on Aero, really, really go at them, I found that, disappointing, I don't know
Why
about
is
you,
it like
Chris,
they're still before I come to Christy, like they obviously still are in this year's championship and they've got a very
yeah,
good coach, but why is it
yes,
for so long that they're not putting it together? Like, what is the problem? Like, is there like an internal issue there in terms of is a blame game being
uh,
played by players out there, or what is it? Because we wouldn't be having
no,
the conversation without having respect for them, which we all have, because we know they're so good, and that's why we speak about it this way. It's not like we like giving
yes.
out to Ryan. It's just we expect more because we know they can actually produce more.
Trinidad had great tradition. It's a great club. It's a phenomenal club, but the word is belief. Belief. I hear people already even saying Aero are going to win the championship. And if that feeds into a team, you're playing Aero next week or 2 weeks, and oh shit, we're playing them. So, for God's sake, I mean, you can't have that in a team. You can't have that. You've got to believe that whatever game you're going into, that whatever guy you're picking up, you're a better man than him. I can beat this man. And that goes for every player on the pitch. You have to have that belief that you can
And
take this guy on.
Aerog have always had that, and that's
Yes,
how does
but
that become hereditary now that I have kind of Aerog lads on the pod? Like, I know going back through the years, but we have Leinster finals, we've all these kind of things, all those stories, and lads are growing up with that, and they don't grow up with that in other clubs. But how can you maintain that psyche for such a sustained period? Where does that come down to? Like that
You have
belief
it
that,
because
you know what I mean, Christy? Like,
yeah, when I go training, I'm marking a Brian Carberry assignment. I'm not looking for a fringe player. That's who I'm
yeah.
marking. I want the best in the county. When you're pitted against some of the best in the county, you're going to be on point. You're going to be sharp. You're going to be confident going into games. Like, geez, there's some training games we'd have, lads. You'd set fire to one another. There wouldn't be a word said. If a lad winded you, you wouldn't let him know. You'd walk over to the far side of the pitch to get a gulp of air, but you wouldn't let him know. Like, competition in your own training field breeds competition. And if you're not on it, you're going to be found out and you'll be dropped down the rankings fairly quick. Like we just said McCarran there. He is the chain buggy, biggest potential. But the thing that they'll have to do now is someone to say, right, are you working harder than X, Y, Z from 1 to 20? And if you're not, get working. And that might mean 3 nights in the gym, 3 nights on the pitch. But you're going to have to make a decision, because if you don't put in the work, you're not going to be there. And when you put in the work, that's where your confidence comes from.
Yeah, and the other side of it, is it fair to add in, Tommy, as well, that like when you touched on there, Christy, in your days, if you're marking a Simon or marking a Brian Carberry, that there's very few in other clubs, with the greatest respect, that are as good as those lads. So I know what I'm coming up against in the training field is probably as good as I'm going to come up against in championship. That's probably another thing that stands to Aero.
Yeah, but they would in Tonight. Tonight have good backs. Danny Moore is a tight mark you'll get around the county. So if you're in training there in Tonight and he's picking you up, you need to test yourself against these guys. And that's the thing. I've no doubt in Tonight that when they're in training, they are taking lads on. They are having a go. But when it comes to the championship, that's where you need to put it into practice. You need to do it where it matters the most. I mean, I'm sure the lads are they're disappointed. Yeah, look, I mean, reverse it around. If that was their role was on the receiving end of a beating like that, you'd be majorly pissed off. Like I wouldn't be happy with it, but you'd be itching to get back into training and get it right. And when you get back into training, you work on them things.
Yeah, it's kind of from an outsider, like I'm sure they are being well coached and they're trying things. And then is it going from the train field onto the pitch? Like, if I was to say, like, you have this conversation and kind of it always comes up, like, if you go play Kildavin, you know kind of what they're going to bring. If you play in All Auckland, you know how they're going to set up and what they're going to bring. And I think that kind of identity is a bit lost at the moment with Tinryland, because you don't know what they're going to bring. And like this thing of we're not showing our hand. Stop, lads. You're playing in the championship. It's a championship match. You either have players that want to play or not. Because what's that telling the opposition then the next day? They didn't respect their oak, but they're respecting you and we're going to throw everything at you, like, or is it just kind of papering over a few cracks? I wouldn't like that, and I doubt the players or anyone involved in that inner circle is saying that. I'd say it's more outside of it. But like as you said, there's some serious players there. Like Niall Lowry, he was in. I think did you bring him in, Tommy? He's a serious player.
Yeah, like, we brought in Niall, but Niall was starting in university, so he wasn't able to. But he's good. He's a good chap. Like Young Holt is very good.
Yeah, Keane Lawler bags of speed. Like there's plenty. There's so much there. It's just I suppose it's trying to get the fit right with the players now as well. Like a few lads have dropped off.
Yeah, you go back to Keane Lawler, just as an example, and the one thing that Keane has is phenomenal pace, and you do not want to see him coming at you at that pace, and he could burn you. But I didn't see that. I didn't see him getting or that opportunity, taking that opportunity to use his pace to get inside a back. You know, I didn't see that.
Tommy, you have to give credit here now as well, right? Rogue led on the field.
Yes.
Like, they didn't give them an inch. I haven't seen the ball moved as fast in any county. I thought Rogue's handling in the opposition 45 with quick give and goes was exceptional. Jordan Morrissey, Paul, an exhibition of long range point kicking, right? Leave him at midfield. He'll be one of the best in the country. Leave him in a position. I think he was outstanding the other day. If you're looking for lads to inject energy and tempo, he did it. Darragh O'Brien did it. Gannon did it. Like, there's just, for me, I thought lads look really sharp and lads look really hungry, and like you could hear it on the pitch the minute they seen one or two lateral passes, they were going hunting. They were going in 5s and 6s, and like last 5 minutes you seen lads jumping on the ball as if it was the last ball they're ever going to play for, and that was exceptional. Tinryland were not given an inch, and like I'd say they were very sore after the game, because any time contact was made, they must have felt it, because it was ruthless from Air Oak, really ruthless.
But it wasn't on the other side. Like Tinryland didn't do that to the Air Oak forwards.
No, but Tommy, they won't let the speed of movement. Ross Dunphy hit past there 30 yards. He caught it just on the D, right? A little 30-yard crossfield ball, little slip inside. It was magic to watch. It was brilliant, and he did that 2 or 3 times. It was great. I think he came off a personal tally of 1-6, was it?
1-6.
Yeah, exceptional.
1-6.
And like the thing is that other teams have, say, like, I'd hate to be an opposition manager, because right, one, you want them to step up in front of, say, marking players, and you pick out your players who you identify. But if you play too much to that, like if you go for a Darragh O'Brien and try to squeeze him out, you're leaving space for Colin Hulton. If you squeeze Colin out, you're leaving more space for Ross. So like you either set up barriers, like walls that you want, or you're just have to go man to man and hope that your team on the day, the worst player has an 8 out of 10 performance.
You go back to the Rangers game that I made a point about. When Air Oak played them earlier in the year, they went 4 points to no score up on Air Oak, right? And they seemed to have, I thought they seemed to have themselves set up well. But the mistake they made is when they were 4 points up, they came out and they decided like they were going to go out and play Air Oak. That's the mistake they made. They left it open at the back. Chris Blake and these boys came into space. The space was created for them there, and they started picking off scores. And before you knew it, then the Rangers were in trouble.
No, I suppose just to bring in, we do offer up some interaction among the listeners and viewers as well, and you can just comment underneath the stream, lads, on Facebook or YouTube. We can bring that up. One of them comes in here from Adam Hockney, who said, Air Oak have players who can't make their 15 but start for Carroll. That's the strength and depth that they have, just very far ahead of anyone else in the county at the minute, and that's a fair comment. Another one in here, Tommy, on a lighter note, from Stan. Stan Brennan says, Jez Wogan is on again.
Yeah, so,
Have you any ammunition for him here this week? No?
no, leave him alone.
No, not worth it, says you. Not worth it.
No,
But,
not worth it.
that was really interesting, lads. And, nice to hear those kind of both of your coaching, you know what I mean? Like, and you're able to bring that and see or say where lads, are not fulfilling their potential, are not kind of, showing a bit of hunger, showing a bit of grit, I suppose, and to be able to bring that and articulate on the pod is great. But I'm just going to bring in one guest here now, Mr. Steve Barmer, just to welcome along as well. Stevie, great to have you with us. But blast on, lads, keep it.
Yeah, just want to make the point. Like, bear in mind, like, probably one of the best forwards, Paul Bartlett, wasn't playing, right? And he notched up a couple of scores for the boys, so he's a huge loss to Tin Island. To have the centre back, he was out. Yes, he was out. So they had a few players. They were missing a few players. So
I think he's only back as well. He's around the same age as me, and he was cracking. He played centre back in a minor final for Tin Island, and I haven't seen a horror from him in years. It's the same lad thinking of now.
Yeah.
Savage soccer player.
Yeah.
So there were a few guys that that were missing from that game, to come into it. So
just tell me, sure. Then I'll throw the other one at you. Sure, we didn't have Chris Blake or like Johnny Flory, like.
Yeah, I know that. Look at.
I think Adam's point is kind of Adam Hockney, and Adam knows football. He looks at loads of it, and he knows his stuff. Like, it's just about the training thing, the confidence thing. Like if you're not performing one week to another, you're not putting in the work. You can go down the rankings fairly quick, and next minute you're on the bench for 2 games. Like, so, like, they do have strength and depth, and it's great. But lads, they're working savage hard as well. So
yeah, that's comment on that. Yeah. Adam has another comment that we'll bring in later. It's kind of more in relation to intermediate stuff. We'll bring it in now for the crack, actually. Might as well, when we're talking about it. So the belief is that, just say if Aero go on intermediate championship, that the runners up, I think, they get promoted. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So he's asking kind of, is that a fair concept? Like, or does someone actually deserve to go down then to flip it the other way from senior? What do you think of that?
Dude, sure, yeah, you can send up if they're all going to just send them up.
Their second team would do all right, senior.
Someone has to go down. I know this year with the 2, it's very hard, but like that's the nature of the beast.
That's
competition.
We kind of wanted to see it go to 10 teams, didn't we? Like, there's probably. We could go back into that again if we wanted to go into it. But look, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit, right? I said we're going to do the games in corresponding order, but you might as well tie up this group while we're at it now, because the other game was on Sunday in the group, and it was Palatine against O'Hanlon. So, Steve, you watched that. So it was 4-18 Palatine, 4-6 to the Blues. Cian Dowling with 3 goals for the Blues. I think, did they get 3 goals in the last quarter, that one, to take the kind of bad look off it a little bit?
Yeah, they got 3-2, I think, in the last water break to full time. Look, the game was over after 10 minutes, and it was just after the week Palatine after having a terrible tragedy out there again, like two in the 1 year, in the one area, and just great to get back on the field, I suppose, and bring some bit of joy back to the area over there. But like the match itself, like, was they were from the word go. Palatine were rattling up scores after scores, and Conor Crowley had 2-3 or 2-4, I think, and it was over. Now, saying that for a goal against Tinryland a couple of weeks, he has that knack of getting goals, and whoever we play him in the relegation playoff, they don't take very off of him anyway above anyone else. But look, the game just it was never half time. It was done and dusted, and Danny Thompson got a penalty there. I think it started second half or midway through it, and a couple of goals took the bad look off it. But no, look, Pal missed a lot as well. Like, when the game was second half, there they hit a few silly wides but just look, I'd say they're back on the horse and off to go again. They'll be in the quarter final against whoever comes out of the other group. So I was just was getting the game out of the way. But the Blues still will be at the start of the year. Probably people will be looking at the Tinryland Blues game. The loser of that is going to potentially be in the relegation final, and that's what way has worked out. And whatever happens in the other group, well, that's in the lap of the gods a bit at the minute. But
it is very much in the lap of the gods, and we will get to that when we move to Sunday's game. But just to wrap up that group then, so Airog obviously 3 wins and 3 straight into the semi or whatever. Pal finish up in second place on the 4 points, and Tinryland in third. So the Blues in that relegation final, as we're talking about there. So we're rattling on to Saturday then, Stevie. So we were out in Fenagh for the junior quarterfinals. You saw the first half of the Loughlin Bridge game. After that, obviously, I went down to look at all Loughlin, but I started the Loughlin Bridge game because it was the first game on. Again, you just touched on it with Palatine and the tough week that they've had. But the big standout for me, was the nice thing to see, I suppose. A big standout was, Darren Reid got the goal for Palatine. It was a fucking very well taken goal, I have to say. He put it in the top right hand corner. It was a cracker. It was probably the best goal I've seen this year. Angie got a point as well. So to see the boys contribute on the scoreboard, given the week that the family had, I thought was quite nice, aside from everything else that went on. But it was just one of those games. The breeze was going straight down the field in Fenagh. Loughlin Bridge had the advantage of that, and they made it count. It was, I think, 3-11 to no score, like at half time. What did the finish see? Was it 5-15 to 1-2, I think, maybe, or something like that in the end. And they played very well.
5-15 to 1-4.
1-4 was it? Yeah. Like I said last week on the podcast, that it really depends on what Loughlin Bridge turn up like, and they turned up hungry. They played very, very well. Like, Palatine were struggling. I think they only had the bare 15. They had quality within that, but they were struggling, and that was it. It was just that type of game. I don't believe for a second they're that bad. It was just one of those games and one of those weeks. But Loughlin Bridge did play very, very well. Steve, you pointed out something actually to me. We were only chatting that they didn't cop onto, and I copped this for the Tinryland game as well. They had the breeze in the first half of both of those games, and they didn't get a second and third ball down behind the goal, which could be to their detriment in a game that's close when you do have the breeze.
They did eventually. I was joking with
not that mattered the other day, but there's small things that do matter.
Look,
not to be nitpicking, like.
I'd have been the opposite when I was playing the goal. I'd be making sure there'd be no ball there, so you're looking at the other end of the spectrum too. But like I said to Gerard's father was beside me, I said, you need a 10-point lead at half time in that pitch. You basically do, because it's a good surface in the county, but up in the top pitch up there, when that wind is blowing, it's not too easy to defend the near goal. And like it took Loughlin Bridge, took them 5 or 10 minutes to get their bearings. There was a couple of loose balls kicked in, there was Hail Marys. And then the kind of got a bit of structure on him. Like Keith Lillis went off there injured for about 20 minutes, and he fierce loss because he's after kind of knitting the forward line together there. And
he's a playmaker, in fairness, like.
Yeah, in fairness. And I can't see him being back now. He was up in John Curran's stream at 6:30 Saturday evening. It's a free therapy theatre. So look, I hamstring, yourself, it's not going to be a week. Bar, he should have been up to Malasha maybe if he wants the holy water, but it'd be a bit of a loss. But like Grange coming in after only playing 2 games, and 2 big scores to put up, and Loughlin will be battle hardened in that regard anyway, at least. So it'd be interesting to see what way that works. I think the 2 games are on the bottom 2 pitches, so even if it's windy itself over there, it shouldn't be as much of a factor. The Loughlin game, like Loughlin were well in until the water break, and it's cast when you see lads taking a chance of going in after a ball. They might get the second phase of a ball. Hughie Gammon to catch a ball. It got knocked over his hands by, I think, one of his own lads coming underneath him. Pádraig Townsend is around a good while. Pádraig decided to follow it in, bang, in the back of the net, 3 points in it at the water break instead of level. And Loughlin had a couple of chances after that, to the chance of a goal, a couple of frees, didn't go over the bar. And Tinryland got a couple of goals near the end. Probably put, I wouldn't say a fair reflection on the scoreboard. They were worth a 4 or 5 point lead, not 11 point, I'd say, to wind up. But Tinryland, they didn't look as in fairness, the first half they took their chances well. And I'd say they're scoring when they do get shots on. They're taking a good percentage of them. And I'd say playing Ballon, they're going to have to, because that's going to be a dogfight. Ballon are going to make that into I'd say a 1-8 to 1-7 sort of a job at that scoring. And I said yesterday to Shea Hayes before the Mullinester Angel Loughlin game, 12 points could win the game. Now, unfortunately, I think we got 12 points, but they got 12 scores. One was a goal. Later on, you're going the year, the scores are not going to be coming as plentiful. But it'll be interesting to see how Will Loughlin's few games that have been testing them stand more to them than Grange's 2 games. Like Grange, it's not Grange's fault they won the 2 games be big scores. So it'll be all to they're starting 0-0 on Saturday evening and it goes from there.
It does indeed, yeah. And I suppose just to offer a little bit of context into the games, like 8-0 is finished with tally of 2-7, I think, in the end. But again, for me, a standout. I don't know whether we talked about in the podcast last week, but I think we talked about Keane Kavanagh going for a point there at the end. But I was actually going to take video clips the other day of his kickouts and send them on to Niall Carew. I have not seen anything like it in ages. Like, they're pinpoint. In the second half, against that breeze, the trajectory he gets on them, like the accuracy, short and long, they were incredible kickouts. Like, Tommy, you're laughing at me now. It's starting to sound like Bowser Dial from Bindus here, aren't I? Trying to pick up my own club, man. But actually, I think we're going too bad because the lad he was bigging up actually is in goal for the county now. He was talking to you about Chunny for years. And look at him now in the goal for county. But no, seriousness, no. Like, his kickouts are class. He's a great bit of stuff, and I think he's
unbelievable.
You know, sir, Chris, you've seen him, like.
No, sure he is. He's outstanding, and like every year he's just getting mature and mature. And like we said it on a previous podcast about confidence, like team makes a mistake, it's not going to get in on him now. He just puts down the next ball and he gets it out there. He's exceptional, to be honest. He's a great talent.
Yeah, and so let's go prediction wise. Then we're straight into these junior semi-finals. Let's have a look at them first and tell you exactly. I think Stevie had mentioned they're in Fennis. 4:15 on Saturday. It is Grange versus Loughlin Bridge up on pitch 1, and then on pitch 3 at 4 o'clock, slightly earlier, it is Ballin versus Tinryland. So for me, like, from an attacking point of view, like, I think, and I've kind of said it before, maybe not in the podcast, but I could have been saying it to you, Stevie, like, Grange are absolutely brilliant from 8 upwards. They're so top heavy, it's not even funny, like, and that's a big, big worry from a Loughlin Bridge point of view. But I don't know what they'd be like. Can you get at them from 8 backwards? Like, you know, is there a bit of scope for movement there? Like, so for me, even though we're all saying that Grange are going to get promoted and this, that, and the other, I think this is going to be a right good contest based on what I saw the other day. Okay, it wasn't much of a contest for Loughlin Bridge. Grange haven't had much of a contest in their 2 games. Loughlin Bridge did have 2 tough games. Does that stand to you? Like, you know, is that worth something? So, all things considered, very hard to call this one, to be honest with you. Like, I'm going to say Loughlin Bridge because it's my own, right? A bit of an upset. I'll put it this way: if Loughlin Bridge were playing Grange in a final, I'd be saying Grange all day long for sheer experience of a lot of lads like that. And you know, Loughlin lads probably wouldn't have that experience maybe on county final day. But because it's a semi-final and because Grange have had 2, you know, relatively easy enough games, I think Loughlin have a great chance here. I'm going to go for the upset. And I'll be quite upset if they lose. But anyway, that's where we're at with this one. And then regards to the second one, I'll give the 2 verdicts and I'll pass it around to Ollie then as well. Second one, Ballin Ryland. Again, I stand by what I say. I think, you know, on form, I was saying Ryland are probably the second best team in it on paper. Are they producing the performances to indicate that so far? Not far off, I suppose. You could say maybe Loughlin Bridge 2, Tinryland 3, or Tinryland 2, Loughlin Bridge 3, whatever. You know, same thing, whatever, other way around. So I think Tinryland might just do it though, Stevie, like, because you saw them 2 games in a row. Again, I come back to the forwards they had. They're so experienced, like Mark Lauder, Evan Doyle, Glenn Doyle, Paurie Townsend, Peony Whelan, Alan Barrett. That's a lad I forgot last week. Like, I don't know, does Ballin able to keep that out, like, you know? And Tinryland aren't too shabby at the back themselves now. They're fairly solid. Like Mousy Leary, he's as good as he ever was. But I'm going to go Tinryland. So I'm going to go Tinryland, Loughlin Bridge. There you go. Jump up, Steve.
Right, tricky one with the Loughlin Bridge being next door neighbours and you know every one of them and their mothers and fathers and all that. It's time for a couple of these Loughlin lads to have the potential. And potential is a word that's bandied around left, right, and centre. And have a Coham. There's nothing to lose. The winner in the junior final, they've 1 leg in the intermediate ranks for next year. Like that's number one. They have to go out with the mentality that they're going to win the game. And look, Liam Brendan's driving them on there. He's like 3 men at the middle of the field at the minute. And I don't mean that from catching balls and going 70 yards solos, and he's driving lads on with encouragement and things like that. And it's good to see that in a young lad. I know he's 22 or 3 years of age. We've seen him in the face families. He's not too shy to have the crack as well. But it's great to see something like that. And you need to have plenty of lads to have leaders, potentially very good footballers. Next Saturday's the day to show that. Have a go ahead. Whether it's not good enough to go over Grange or not, we don't know. Now, I'd still probably give Grange the nod, just alone by what I've seen of them now. They looked a fairly well balanced team, I thought. But I'd have to agree with you, Kevin. I don't actually know what they're like at the back when they are pulled asunder, if they are pulled asunder. Now, so I said this about Bagnallstown the night in the senior game. I said to Jimmy Fitzpatrick, we wonder what Bagnallstown are likely to go 4 or 5 points down in a game. And lo and behold, next minute, James Claw's goal ended up in the net with 4 points in it. And Jimmy says, we're going to find out now what they're like. And we did. And they came back and won it. And that's often Grange might need to go 3 or 4 points down and see what they're made of. But I'd go for Grange, just maybe slightly. And the other game, Tinryland and Ballin. I haven't seen Ballin. I know Matt Dunnigan is over him, and Matt will have studied that at the letter of the law. I'm going to give Ballin just a slight nod. Just as a first team against the second team, they might just have enough. Tinryland, as I said, they've been shooting good percentages of their shots, and I would say if it is a high scoring game, that Tinryland might come to the top. I'm going to go with Ballin in a low scoring game, maybe a 110 to 1-9, something like that. But so I go with Ballin and Grange at the minute.
I'm going directly opposite of that. Right, Christy and Tommy, I'll bring you in here. I know you mightn't have seen a whole lot of it, but sure, you might as well give us the verdicts there.
I'll go with, say, what I saw last year as well. Like O'Loughlin Tinryland played contested 2 semi-finals, didn't it, last year?
Loughlin Bridge, Tinryland, and then the other one was Tullow and Graham.
Tullow, yeah. I'm like impressed with O'Loughlin, and you're right. It's time like the shit or get off the pot for some of these young lads. Don't be worried about potential. You either are going to go out and give it a lash and just get stuck in, or don't tug out, because I think they definitely have the potential, and it's just about going out and performing and getting in their faces. And that's why I fancy Loughlin. I just think some of them did have to be hurting after last year, because that game was in their own hands until the last 15 minutes. Like Tinryland, I think they are well balanced, and they've been together a few years now. So like they're a well seasoned team at this point in time. I go back to last year's game against Fenna and Clonegall Clavan. Fenna romped into the semi final and got absolutely snuffed out by Clonegall Clavan, because there was questions asked of them and they had no answers. There was no plan B, no plan C, no plan anything. Like Mike Tyson said, all good plans are great until you get a box in the face. But I just fancy O'Loughlin and Tinryland.
Loughlin Bridge and Tinryland now.
Loughlin Bridge, Loughlin Bridge.
Lads out here now.
I'm not here next week.
It's all right, Mr. I was calling your young lad a girl earlier, so that's quits now. Tommy, where's this going?
I'm going to go Grange and Tinryland.
Grange Tinryland. Okay,
Yeah.
Right. So that's her. And we'll move on to Saturday evening's games then. Steve, you went straight into Netwatch Cullen Park. You're a glutton for punishment, lad. So you saw the last quarter, I think, of Killavon, Donegal and Kilbride. Now, I'm only going by Twitter, and did Kilbride finish at 12 or something like that? So what that says to me, before I see it talk about anything, and I can't really talk too much about because I saw no ball kick, but one thing I know factually, if you go back through the games Kilbride have had this year, sending offs, discipline has not been good, right? And everyone else in the county knows it as well as Kilbride, that they are not great numbers-wise. Is that not enough of an indictment to be saying to yourself, we need to keep our heads, lads. We don't fucking have the depth. Like, at what point does that register? And why is it not register? Because finishing with 12 men inside in the quarterfinal, I don't know what did or didn't happen, but that's not good, like, at the end of the day. Killavon Donegal won it anyway in the end, but you saw the last quarter. Maybe talk us through that.
Yeah, well, as I was coming in, Kilbride lad was at the second water break. Was getting the road. So I knew they were down to 14. I didn't actually know they were down. Kilbride lads did look scarce in the field, but I see the whole thing was down in the one end of the field. Kildavin were attacking the Dublin Road end, and literally when I went in, everyone was down there. The ball didn't come out. Didn't come out of half for literally 5 minutes. So, all joking aside, you wouldn't have known whether there was that 10, 11 or 14. I think it was Stephen Curry got did he get yellow on the black or 2 yellows, and he went in near the end of it.
Yeah,
But there was only 2 points in it. The ball went in. Joe Waters was only about, let's say, 2 foot away from getting a fist to it, and that could have altered the.
Because it finished 10-8, 11 20 goal, in fairness now. So we're talking about this, that, you know what I mean? It was that close, like.
Yeah, but Kilbride were down because they were down 3 lads. And Killavin didn't. Killavin sat back. I felt like on the Kilbride kick out, they should have pressed up on him. Should have got up and go man to man on him, like and forced him. But I was surprised now that they didn't go man to man on him, like But geez, you have to hand it to Kilbride. Like, there's some heart. They stayed at it, even though there were 2 or 3 men down. They stayed at it, like and they could have got something out of that game.
Yeah, Killavin make life so hard themselves. I don't know, they're getting through the matches though, and as Chris said earlier there, the match last year, the caught Fenna League, knockout game.
Hold on, I want to bring in this first. This is how honest we are here. Foley's trophies, Liam. This is obviously Liam Foley, I think, from Kilbride. If you weren't there for the full game, I shouldn't count the sentence off. I said straight away I wasn't there for the full game, but I'm saying factually I know they finished with 12 men. So I'll put it to you this way now, right? And Roy Keane said it before, irrespective of whether you deserve to be sent off or not. 9 times out of 10, you put yourself in a position where you could be sent off. And that responsibility is with you. So I'll say no more. I don't have to see any football to say that much. So continue.
Go on, Stevie.
Yeah, well, if that's aimed at me, I seen the last quarter of an hour. I seen a man going off, whether it's aimed at Joe, Kevin, or me, or also whoever.
Probably both, but anyway.
Yeah,
we don't hide that on the podcast. You know what I mean? We don't mind anyway. It's not personal, but like that's the point we're making. Like, if you are struggling, don't put yourself in the position. Essentially,
look, it's a local derby too. Like, and things. Look, there's Dara Foley went home. His jersey was in 2 halves again. You have to get a jersey replaced near the end of it. And look, they shook hands after him. Stays between the 2 lanes, and on you go. And like, it's going to be Killavin and Michael next week, and that's going to be the same. That's going to be a dogfight as well. And you get out of these matches.
I don't know, Steve, you've been on for a second now, because I don't know. You told me you got Brabant up there, and I think this joke is worse this week. Whoever's going out in that place, I'd say you got caught now. I hope you didn't give these boys too much money. You're stopping and going. And then when you do come back, your voice is going like Speedy Gonzalez. You're like a lad, I don't know. Like when Wogan was training you, he's telling you to hurry up there. But anyway, I don't know what's going on, but it is cutting in and out. So look, that's the story with that. I'm going to jump on another little bit and just cognizant of time here now as well, lads and stuff, right? So that's obviously the 2 quarterfinals of the intermediate covered, which brings us nicely into predictions for the semi-finals, which are on Saturday in Netwatch Cullen Park. It is a double header, 6 o'clock, Fenna and Aerogue, and then 7:45 is Naomh Eoin and Killavin Donegal. So, like, one comment before we get into it. Podge Ryan is in touch. No fear of Stevie giving over the asking price, Kev. There you are now. Podge, another dirty one. So like these semi-finals, lads, again, I still think, while Fenner are flying at it, like Aerogue are coming into their own, aren't they? It depends on how the lads are. You were saying that there was a couple of knocks in that, but I'm probably fancying Aerogue here still, even though Fenner have been so good. I think it'll be a right good game, actually. I think both sides will probably go for it, like, properly. There won't be, I don't envisage it being a kind of a sit back and see what happens kind of a game. I think both sides are going home for it. I think that's just the way both sides are. I'm just siding with Aerogue probably on this. And then the second one, Killavin Donegal, Naomh Eoin. Like, Naomh Eoin won this fixture it wasn't
Yeah.
unexpected, but we were still probably fancying Calavera Donegal in that group game. So are the lessons learned? Are we going to see a change for the Bucks? Like, those are the big questions. They're winning games. They're not winning them by much, but they're winning. You know, apart from that Michael game, but they won the knockout game in tough circumstances the other day. So, yeah, Michael or Gas, aren't they? Like, I would say now, this is just going to seem very blindly ignorant, right? Because I don't know what Colin Keeling is doing with everyone out there or not. But I'd say Thurlow and Ledger and the boys are putting a lot more tactically into Calavera Donegal than maybe is going into Nave 1 now. I'm just saying this blindly, right? But yet you're looking at this game and it's probably a 50-50 kind of game, right? I don't know if you share those sentiments, but I'm probably going to go with Calavera Donegal, having said that, all things considered. So, Christy, I'll weave round to you there next.
I suppose for the first one, Fenna and Air Hog, like the consistent team has been Fenna. And Air Hog looked to be back on track after a wobbly start. Like Fenna have bags of football. I just, if I'd have a question mark over their mentality to kind of stay in the game, if their space and time is taken away from them and lads are on their boots and in their face, I think Airog have a few threats there that I kind of didn't see before, and it's great to see the backs. Airog backs are very good, and it'll take the Smithers and the Jack Tracy's and the Mark Foley's to get through them. But yeah, I was just, do you know what? With the energy that I seen the other day and kind of some of the scores being picked off, I'm going to say Airog, because I think they've had a tougher ride of it and they're after coming out kind of the far side of it now with a bit of momentum on their side. Will I do the double?
Yeah, go for it there, yeah.
I'll call Michael the second game.
Right. Turlo, I love you for that one. Tommy?
Well, Airog and Fenna, a lot's going to hinge on, you know, whether Murta and Kyle are fit to go. They're two big losses in the middle of the park for them. I think it's going to be very, very tight. It's not going to be. It's going to be very hard to predict this one, but I just about might give Airog the nod on it, based on what I seen the other day. Their forward line, Carroll and McCarran, that are you know, they're hitting good form, and I think they just might have it. Like, I mean, if Fenna starts fouling at all in the you know, McCarran is going to punish them. He's a very good free taker, so I go for Airog.
And then the other one?
Now, yeah, well.
You may leave your loyalties at the door now, Tom. I feel like you're going with Michael. I feel like you're going with Michael.
I was criticised for my views on Calavera there in the last podcast about talking about, well, I take out both sides. But in fairness, I thought Michael just bullied Calavera that day. But knowing the lads down in Calavera, like, I mean, this is a local derby, and this is one that matters the most. I'm going to go with Calavera.
Right. Stevie?
Yeah, sure. Calavera and Michael, was it 2 years ago that was called off with the floods inside in Carroll,
right,
and
yeah.
then was replayed, and did they go to a replay, and like, there'll be nothing in this. I'll give Calavera the nod just because I went from at the start of the championship, and I'm not going to jump horse now, but they seem to make life very hard themselves. But like, the Michael lads, look at John Michael Nolan. He's a serious threat. He can get ball in there and expose the edge of the square. He's worked a couple of scores, goals, whatever.
Yeah.
Joe Roberts has been starting for Calavera regularly, and I don't understand. Look, obviously there's some. I know a lot of teams are bringing in subs to finish off games, and you know, Liam Roberts has been. Liam is the county man, isn't he? He was wearing number 5. He's a serious threat going forward. Draws a lot of attention on players, and I suppose like Cho in the other game with in a more forward position for Fenna breaking the lines and all that. I'm going to go with Fenna and Kildavin. Repeat last year's semi-final. Now, I haven't seen Fenna money going and what I've heard and Rogue. Look, we know the experience to have no like more to wear Derek Head and these lads. Like if they said I didn't catch the start of the podcast. Like if Kyle O'Byrne or Morta are missing, there'd be huge losses. But like I heard a lot of good things about James Carlin and Adam McCarron and that. So I going on form at the moment. I go with Fenna in that one. I'm probably nearly going against form with Kildavin. I'm going to go with Kildavin in the other one.
All right, there we go. So we'll rattle on then. We'll start with the second game on Saturday at Netwatch Cullen Park, which obviously brings us into the other group of the senior championships, and that was Bynderstown and Ballinarbana. You mentioned it briefly, Stevie. 3-14 Bynderstown, 2-11 Ballinarbana is how this one finished up. We knew this was going to be a good contest. I think we said as much last week. You know, Bynderstown, as Christy was saying, are kind of showing a bit of form, and they're putting a few results together here now, and all of a sudden they're going into this weekend with a nice bit of form, and they'll take a bit of baiting as well. But as a contest, what was this like?
It was a great contest. It was a cracking game. But Ken Hickey carried out what he said he was going to do. He was going to work on his forwards to get them shooting, and he seemed to do that. It was a great game, very enjoyable game. Thought Bynderstown, you know, the work rate, they work savage hard for one another, up and down the pitch. I mean, Jamie Clark just covers every blade of grass. You know, he's in the forwards 1 minute, then he's down his back line, you know, intercepting ball, breaking up attacks, you know, and getting back up the pitch. Robbie Kane was very good. Keane Dial scored 5 points in play. Very good forward line. On the Ballinarbana side, Sampson again is a threat in on the edge of the square, but I felt they didn't use him enough. You know, anything that went in there, he was causing problems. And again, like, you know, in crucial part of the game, 2 balls went into Sampson, and but for Kieran Cunningham making fabulous saves, really, really top class saves, it could have been a different outcome. You know, but it was a great game, very enjoyable game.
Any comments on that one, Steve? Because I know you were there. Yeah.
In fairness, go back to the goalkeepers union, ex-goalkeepers union. Like Johnny Lynn had a shot in the first half. James Claw hit a shot. It's I was aiming for a high ball on top of Robert Sansom.
Yeah.
And the wind was blowing down the Dublin end, but where the ball took the strangest movement I ever seen into the breeze and in over his head. But in fairness to him, he parked it up. He made 2 savage saves, as Tommy said in the second half. Said one with his foot and one with his hand from Sansom. This one, the game was 4 or 5 points, 6 points in it. And as I said earlier, I said to Jimmy Fitzpatrick, who was talking literally beside me at the match, I said, we'll see how Bangor are like to go 4 or 5 points down. I just said it in jest.
Yeah.
It was 2-4 to 6 points when the second goal went in. And in fairness, Robbie Kenny buried one before after he make a 2-4 to 1-7.
Yeah. And
he said, Keane Dial, I'd say, kicked 5 or 6 points in play from the D. Literally, Ron Magara, drop at goal territory. The same spot, I'd say, kicked to 5 or 6 points. And Robbie Kane got into a good move then for the second goal. Jamie Lunny got a great goal in the first half for Ballinarbana. The first goal they got, I think, was Lunny's goal.
Yeah.
But they didn't get enough. They didn't. Sansom, the ball didn't stick. A couple of balls went in there now and just didn't get to stick. Like with the mark in there, and the man is 6'3" or 4. Andrew Casey on a yellow card for 10 or 15 minutes. You'd be thinking ideal time for. You know, Casey hands were tied, and like in fairness to him, after he didn't give away too many frees after that run. But what Tommy said about Ken Hickey, the scores, like they were shooting from better positions.
Yeah.
In Alan Beaton kicked a cracker into the wind in the start of the second half, 35 metres out. When he left his boot was going over only over the black spot. But the thing about they're going into the football last round of the football the same as the hurling was. After 3 wins, they're going in playing a team that probably there'll be underdogs going into play at Philly. There were underdogs against Sam Mullins or against Munster Rangers, and it'll be the same sort of scenario. If they win, they're going to be straight into a semi-final. Draw, I don't know what way scoring average differences. Lose, obviously, they'll be second in the group. So have a cut at it. I don't know if Ralph will be back or not. Jack McCullough has been quite enough in these games. He's been quite enough in that he's been kind of, I wouldn't say minding the house. He's kind of minding the middle third of the field there. He's not leading.
Yeah.
He's not leaving. He's not making the gut bursting runs he might have been using last year. And probably, say lads have probably looked at him going, he's probably maturing as well. And lads are having a look at him going, saying, like, look, you know, and they're building a team that are they're building to their strengths. And Robbie Kane, in fairness to him, he's not the biggest chap in the field, but he's coming out the field, getting ball, giving it off, working scores. And Danny Doyle was very impressed with as well. Took a chance, the same as the Parry Townsend goal in the O'Loughlin Tinryland Junior game. A ball went in from one of the McDonald's, and it was one of these ones where the goalie came out and Adrian Brennan went to catch it, come off his hands, and Danny Doyle was coming in, smashed it to the net, and that was probably the final nail in the Van der Vanne coffin. But as I said, Danny Doyle's been very impressed carrying ball forward. He's a soccer player. He will be known as a goal scorer, and you'll be thinking, well, he's going to be wearing 10 to 15 in a GA match, but he's wearing number 7, and he's carrying good ball up and giving an intelligent ball, and he's often a serious threat going forward. So it'd be interesting to see what way to go. As in, you know, they're going to have a cut at it. It's a free dice, roll the dice at getting to a straight semi-final, and you know, so it'll be interesting.
The break with serious pace. When they turn over a ball, they really go at you. Like they really go. Yeah. You know, that's what I thought was. They just go at you hard, like, you know.
The key thing for me that sticks out there, Tommy, is that they seem to have learned from last week. They knew that to work on the shooting because the Wives were horrendous against O'Loughlin. They've gone and worked on the shooting, and that's a good sign of management, and it's a good sign, you know, that the players have actually went and practiced what was going wrong, and they're putting it to test and putting it to good measure, you know. So it brings us on, before we actually talk about the other game that happened the weekend, we might as well just dovetail into this because, you know, Bindlestown play Rathvilly, and as we were saying, there is a straight shot at going to a semi-final. So if we just look at the table, you know, in that group there, at the moment, Rathvilly are sitting at the top, 3 wins from 3 on 6 points. Bindlestown likewise. So, you know, if there's a draw here, just to put it out there, Rathvilly are plus 23 and Bindlestown are plus 9. But, like, I see this as a very even contest, to be honest with you. Like, as we've said several times, momentum is a great joke, like, and Bindlestown have that now behind them. They're moving well, they're learning all the time. And it's a big opportunity to go not only, you know, straight into a semi-final, but avoid Éire Óg as well, because the last time they were there, I think, was that a couple of years ago against Éire Óg when they got to the semi-final last time? I think it was 2019. It pissed rain, I think, the same night, or it was a bad old night, but
that's right.
I got turbo baiting. Like, it was, did Éire Óg get 130 or something?
That night, though, was like everything Éire Óg touched turned to goal.
It was
like
just a
every
magic performance.
Big ball, long ball, high ball, across ball into the forwards, stuck like glue. Like,
yeah. And even that same year, Christy, like, or maybe it was, I think it was the same year, or possibly the year before, Bindlestown won a minor championship, and now a lot of those lads are on this Bindlestown senior team. Like, so a lot has happened in that kind of period of time as well, you know. But there's a big carrot dangling here for the winners, a massive carrot dangling, like.
That's the story with Alan Corcoran. It's, you know.
Yeah, well, he went off against O'Loughlin. So did he play the other night, lads?
No.
Tommy didn't play at all.
No.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know what the nature of the injury is, but he had fairly serious ankle surgery, which kept him out for a long time, and he only got back for the club there. You know, what's up?
Quad
injury,
it was called.
Yeah. Well, that often happens too. If it's on the same side as the knee injury, that can happen because you're compensating a bit. So, like, Tommy, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's
a quad muscle
that's a
injury
big factor. Like, he's a player you would have chased, Tom, I know, for the county footballers. I know he was very much dedicated, you know, to the hurling. But
I chased Alan, very nice fella, really nice guy. And there's a guy, Alan Beaton. You know, Steve, you know, Kev, about me and Alan Beaton.
And it was Andrew you were chasing, wasn't it? So it was Alan and Andrew, right? So Andrew's actually not playing at all this year, which is mad. You know,
me crazy. I mean, good footballers, like, you know, really good footballers, like, you know. So
look, I know you don't have to discuss this, right? But you probably hate me for even bringing it up. But do you want to just share the extent of what you went to try to get Andrew Beaton in? Are you happy to do that, or would you rather not?
Sure, I went and met him. I went down to the job, met him in the job
In
to get
Connor's
him
top
in.
line hardware.
Yeah, went there, met him, because I had seen him coming up through underage, and I just thought he was a lovely footballer, really, really classy footballer. Like, I mean, and I would have loved him to have him in. I tried to get him in with myself and actually with Christie, with Sean Dempsey and that time with the minors, and I couldn't get him. But I would have loved him. I would have loved him to have worked with him. Like, he's a class act. Like,
Listen,
he's
Tom, come
he's a
here.
lot tougher.
I was in school with this fella. Like, I mean, he was on senior football and hurling teams in third year, and on basketball teams in third year. Everything
Yeah,
that he put his
yeah.
hand to.
Oh, he was
know.
good. He was good. Like, I mean, look at a very nice chap, very nice fella. Look at it, but unfortunately, wasn't to be. Like, but look at Alan Corcoran is another one. He's a lovely footballer as well. Like, but he's a dual player and he loves the hurling. Like, so. But hopefully he'll be all right. He'll be clear to go, and because he'd be a big loss to him too. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a borderline game changer in my opinion for the game that's in it. Like, I don't think you can afford to be without anyone of that caliber against Rathvilly. Like, Rathvilly are, they're.
Yeah, but Kevin, I like about Bangstown, they all work hard. They all work hard. There's no player that doesn't put his shoulder into it. Like, I mean, that's what I loved about them the other night. They were all working. When they had the ball or when they didn't have the ball, they were working like beavers to get it back. And that's a great thing to have in a team.
Just for me as well, if I say, you mentioned Stevie, Jack McCullough, like sitting a bit deeper, that's growth in Jack. And say for the management to spot it, that like he doesn't need to be wild, going up and down and tracking and going left and right. Like he's well able to play at fullback, just as he is at midfield or centre back. Like these lads, the younger lads, and the kind of they've a great mishmash of older people and young lads coming through. They have all played in very big games, whether it's hurling or football, both at county level and with their club. That like they won't shy away from this. I don't think. I think like they know exactly where they're at and what's ahead of them. I think both teams will know that the carrot is to get into a semi-final and avoid their og. I think it'll be a cracker, and I think what it will be is it'll be a real high intensity, fast championship game that's kind of badly needed, and the two teams will actually relish playing in that kind of hard, physical, intense game. Because like when you go into championship, you want the heart leaping out of your chest after 5 minutes and going, geez, we're in the game here, let's go. So like, I just think it has all the ingredients for an absolute cracker.
Do you know what has all the ingredients for as well? For the losers to go on and play at Tinryland and try and debate them, and for them to sicken us after the dogging that Wogan gave at the start of the podcast. I'm only talking. No, but like,
we better not.
It wouldn't be beyond Tinryland to actually do that, though. That's the mad thing about it. Like.
Yeah, well, listen, just to talk about Ballinabanna there. Like, I mean, just want to mention Ballinabanna. Like Gary Dunn, a great warrior for Ballinabanna. He kept driving at Bagnallstown. He brought the game to Bagnallstown. He's one of them guys that stood up and really tried to grab it by the scruff of the neck and work so hard. Young Jamie Lunny, Darren Lunny, Ben Dorgan is a guy like me that has so much potential, and big unit, so I feel sorry for Ballinabanna. Like, I mean, they tried their hearts out. And unfortunately it didn't work out for them in the end. But like, I mean, so I just wanted to mark that. Like, they were playing some good football as well. Like,
Well, they have an unenviable task, if I can pronounce it right, which we'll come to. But just verdicts on Bangstown, Rathvilly first. So I'm actually going to give the town the benefit of the doubt. Steve?
I'm going to go to Rathvilly. Conor Doyle going forward is going to be given Bangstown to test their own medicine, and I'd love to see how the likes of these lads, Brendan Murphy breaking forward as well. I don't think there's going to be much in it. I just think Rathvillier, their game management is generally fairly good in games like this, where they're just slight favours to beat a team like this. That they're able to. Brian Murphy, Alan Kelly, these lads, they're around a long time. Now, the other thing about it is the Bagenstone lads, they need a big scalp at some stage as well. And this is a quarter final basically. The winners in the semi final. I'd still give Rathvilly just they might have enough just all round between, as I said, with the likes of Conor Doyle, Brendan Murphy, Brian Murphy, these lads all over the field, that they might just have enough to let Bagenstone think about defending a bit more than they've had in the 3 previous games. So I'll go Rathvilly.
All right, Christy.
I'm going to go with Bagenstone.
Okay.
I think it just like they do need a big scalp, and I think the time is now to stand up. I actually think Stevie's right. Rathvilly or savage game management. I just think Bagenstone will have legs.
Okay, Tommy.
Yeah, another difficult one. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah, I will go with Stevie, based on Rathvilly's experience, and of course, Brendan in the middle of the field is going to have a huge say in it. I just think the Rathvilly backline is very, very tight. They'll struggle to get change out of them, I think, and then, on the other side of it, Brian Murphy's shooting up, he's shooting up the lights, with his scoring, so I just give it to Rathvilly, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bagenstone did turn them over, but I go with Rathvilly.
All right, so there we go. 2 games in Netwatch Cullen Park Sunday. That Rathvilly Bagenstone game was 4:15. But before that, 2:30, it is Ballinrana versus one of the Rangers. And you would have saw, if you're following us on social media, which, jeez, lads, do it, sure. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter there at the Left Wing Back. And the comments are great as well. Keep them coming in. Doesn't matter whether they're good or bad. Throw them in here. Give us your tuppence worth. We're all about that. But what I was referring to regarding social media was, we were saying we're going live last night at, promoting tonight's show. We're going to be on at 9 o'clock. And I put a picture of a packet of paracetamol, because with these permutations, they do provide headaches. So I thought I was going to take the box of them there at one stage. But looking at it from the table, at the moment, Munster Rangers, having played the 3 games, are on 2 points with -1 of a score difference. O'Loughlin are in 4th, but they've played all their games, also on 2 points, but -11. And Ballinrana, obviously playing Munster Rangers, they've a -20 score difference and they've no points. So, the only thing we know is that O'Loughlin are either going to be possibly automatically relegated or in a relegation final. They can't get to a quarter final. But Ballinrana still can, funnily enough. But a lot has to happen for that. So, to the best of our knowledge, from what we're after working out, if Ballinrana went and bet Munster Rangers by 10 points, which many people would say is unlikely, but if they did, then that would put them on -10 in terms of score difference. They would put Munster Rangers on -11. And obviously Rangers, I think, would have O'Loughlin on the head-to-head then. Would they? No, it's 3 points into 1. So Munster Rangers will go on to -11 as well. I don't know what does it come down to, actually, if 2 teams finish on -11. Is it 3 teams together on 2 points, but 2 of the teams out of 3 on -11? What happens there? I'm not quite sure exactly. I can't clarify that one for you.
Could be goal scored or something,
Yeah, so it does get a bit complicated. But Ballinrana they're either going to be automatically relegated or in a quarter final. There's no in between. They're going to be 3rd or 5th. Mad kind of shit going on. So yeah, that's to the best of our knowledge. That's all we've kind of worked out. We're up the correction on the ball. I'm fairly certain that's the way it's going to be. Do we see Ballinrana beating Rangers by 10 points? I don't know, lads. I just don't know. We'll talk about Rangers and O'Loughlin first to give us maybe a bit of context and making up our mind. So 111 Rangers, 12 points O'Loughlin, Stevie. So this hinged on a goal that was scored by Evan Keeley for Munster Rangers, which I should have actually went and tried to get the clip of this, but you were saying O'Loughlin pushed up completely on the kick. Dean Grennan just launched it out over everyone, and there was nobody in the O'Loughlin half or something like that, and Evan Keeley scores a goal. Something along those lines, yeah?
Yeah, it was caught. I went over, like, Dean Grennan had some savage kickouts. One or two went a bit scuttery along the ground, but to no harm. Generally, they're on the money. But this one just, it was like some, I think Raishi had scored a point. I don't know whether it was the play before, or maybe, I'm not exactly sure. But the kick out went over the top, and Evan Keeley was inside on his own. When inside on his own, I say probably in the 30, 35 metres out from the O'Loughlin goal, and sure there was an overlap, and in fairness to Chappie buried it, and he had another chance shortly after, and Stephen Scallon made a savage save, and just back to the score difference. Sometimes you're losing these matches. Losing the match first of all is bad enough. Losing by 3 points and 5 points or 6 points can make a fierce difference coming into the last game now, because there's still a chance Ballinaranna can get through. Right, okay, you're looking at have to win by 10 points. There's still a chance, and that's what it is. But if Munster Rangers they started off well. Conor Fenlon boxed the ball over the bar. Diarmaid Byrne, I think he scored 6 points, 5 frees during the game. Who else scored? I said Evan Keeley scored 1-2 from play. They're just O'Loughlin put a fierce lot of work to get back level at half time. The last 5, 6, 8 minutes of the first half got back level. Then Munster Rangers got 2 points in the first 2 minutes of the second half. O'Loughlin again dug in deep, got back level again, and just had probably enough possession for about 10 minutes there, and were either a point down or level for that 10 minutes. Just didn't get ahead. A couple of the last passes just didn't. Tyroch was through at one stage. Now, you're looking at with blinkers on, you'd say it was definitely an O'Loughlin free or a penalty. Wasn't given. You'd have to look at from a neutral point of view. As I said, you're always looking for your own lad to get the benefit of doubt. It wasn't given. Get on with it. A couple of incidents like that where the last pass didn't stick where it was supposed to stick. We had a few chances then when we were goal down in the last 5 minutes. Shawnee Barry hit wide, David Barry hit wide, things like that. Shawnee Taylor played very well, had a chance of a goal. I'd say about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour to go. Dean Grennan was on him quick, so Sean turned and shot from probably 12, 14 yards out and hit the side net, and that went in. It could have actually been before the Evan Keeley goal. And but to cut a long story short, O'Loughlin are out now. They're either in 4th or 5th position, depending on how way Ballinaranna and Munster Rangers go. And look, Ballinaranna, they've been very. I'm not going to use unlucky. That's not the word to be using. They should have had more scores on the boards in some of the games that they've had. Goal chances. The 2 against O'Loughlin took neither of them. The 2 against Rathvilly took neither of them. They got 2 the other night. They probably need 2 to beat Munster Rangers, and if they're going to beat by 10 points, look, Munster Revine conceded 1 goal against Rathvilly, and I was at the Bangasson game, I was at the O'Loughlin game with Munster Rangers. I don't think Dean Grannan's had a shot to save in the 2 games. So I can't see an 18 points to 8 in favour of Ballinaranna. They're going to need goals, and if they're going to need goals, they're going to need Robert Sansom or somebody like that getting balls on the edge of the square, feeding off to Darren Lunny, James Keogh, Keelan Brennan. He played well when he came in the other night. These lads, David Cox, they played in the relegation playoff 2 years ago. I think the Munster Rangers got a fierce good start to get 7 or 8 points up on them in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and Ballinaranna clawed them back, but left too much to do. Looking all known form, you're thinking, right, Ballinaranna could beat Munster Rangers, or they'll be in by 10 points. Will Munster Rangers let a team other than their role, possibly or Rathvilly, beat by 10 points? You couldn't see it happening, but look, you don't rule it. You don't rule anything in or out. It's last day. They have to go to the well for whoever they have in the tank. They're going to empty it out next Sunday, and but they will need 2 or 3 goals. And as I said, Munster Rangers haven't been coughing up any goal chances.
Right. Well, I think Ballinaranna will win the game. I don't think they'll win by 10 points though. That's my verdict. Steve, just to wrap up there, who do you think is actually going to win the game?
I actually go for Ballinaranna, I think. I just think
not by 10.
But not by 10. I couldn't see it. They need 2 or 3. As Brent Cody says, every game takes on a leaf of its own. and it's going to have to take on a life of its own if they're going to get the 10-point victory they want.
All right, Christy.
I'm going to go with Mount Leinster. I just think unless Ballina shoot out the styles and get 3 or 4 goals, and Mount Leinster have to chase the game, I just think they're too long. I think they're too cute, and they don't give away. They don't allow the game to open up too much for teams to go at them and get at them.
All right, Tommy.
Rangers. As I said
Okay.
last week, nobody wants to play them boys, especially in these situations. They love nothing better than a battle, and I think they'll make it very difficult for Ballina.
All right. So the one thing we do know, actually, the quarter-final pairing is actually a bit more straightforward. So, like, Rangers or Ballina will play Palatine. Do you know what I mean? We know that. And then Tinryland will play either Rathvilly or Bindestone. So at least that's straightforward. The other side is slightly more complicated. But look, it makes a bit of intrigue in it. We do have another comment that I got earlier, and I kind of wanted to bring it up now because it's relevant now. So it comes in from a fella called Jason, who says, it's very unfair for a team to be eliminated or relegated from the championship on points difference, which is likely to happen to Ballina unless they get a big win against MLR. Do you agree with that, lads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, it is unfair, right? But like, why do we keep the score? Like, it's a competition, and there are the rules that apply to every team in this competition. Whether you agree with it or not, that's what you're in, and that's it. From a moral point of view and from your own point of view, yeah, it's unfair. But then from a very straightforward point of view, it's competition, and we keep score for a reason.
All right. Agreed, lads, yeah.
Yeah.
Just as the year is in it, and right, okay, you have to make sure the last day going into the last game is still in your own hands, and right, okay, still in Ballina's own hands, but it's not. You know,
Well, in general, I think we knew it was going to be topsy-turvy anyway, right? Because if you want to be all technical about it, like, you're looking at Aerogue having won 3 out of 3 and in the semi-final, and then you have Rathvilly and Bindestone to win now 3 out of 3, and they mightn't even be in the semi-final. So, but we knew that was going to happen with the 9 in one group and 8 in the other this year to an extent. I get the point with the other side of it, but look, I suppose that's where we're at, and that's it. But we're at I think we're at the AOB part of it. We do have the Junior B semi-finals actually to talk about as well. They're on Friday. So that's Killarney Donegal versus Bindestone Gale, 7:30 out in Fenagh, and then again in Fenagh about 7:45 is Naomh Eoin versus Fenagh. So that's what's happening there. But we had a couple of other points that we wanted to discuss, lads, which I'll bring up here on the run order. So one of them is our good friend Joe Nolan, who has made waves, I think, with this idea of social hurling. It's something he would have mentioned to me and Stevie a little bit on a couple of occasions, but he's actually went and made a WhatsApp group. It was a shitload of lads in it, to be honest with you. I think it could be kicking off Friday at 8 o'clock over in IT Carlow. If you want to get into the WhatsApp group, the details are on Twitter. They have a Twitter page, Carlow Social Hurling. Joe's number is up on that. And you can email us if you want, leftwingbackpodcast@gmail.com, or send us a DM. We're happy enough to spread the word. But lads, I know, Stevie, there's a hurling man and you, there's a hurling man and me. The boys are very much football lads up there who do follow the hurling too. But we can all agree on it. It's a great idea. Isn't it fantastic?
I've all the shapes to make a good hurler.
You, Wogan?
Me? No.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe a fair side now.
Pretty known for hurling out my head as a young lad, so I did.
Yeah. That's the way it was.
Yeah. Tom Neville was training us up in the Blues pitch, and I had the unfortunate thing to chase Greeny down, and Tom Neville showed at me to get in and block him, and I went in with the best intentions to block him. The unfortunate thing is Greeny brought his hurl, my hurl, into me forward, and I was seeing stars after. So that was the end of my hurling career.
Game over. Now, look, just put out there, you are required to wear a helmet on Friday. So for anyone who come off my Tommy's they are mandatory, and you won't get better in the head. And if you do, you mightn't feel as bad as what Tommy did. So yeah, if you want to get in touch, it is a great idea. Like, there's lads after jumping in on this. I think one lads from off the ball was sharing it, and there's a good bit of movement on it. I was saying to the lads off air earlier there, Stevie, about whether they saw the interview with the Leinster GA secretary on Off the Ball. I don't know, did you see it? The lads didn't see it. I saw it.
Yeah, seen it. Yeah,
Did you watch the full of it or just the 2-minute clip? I actually went and watched the full of it after.
Just a 2-minute clip.
It was interesting. I'll put it that way. It wasn't the most open discussion in terms of I don't feel it would have been a progressive conversation, if that makes sense. I think it was very much this is the way it is and this is the way it's going to be. I don't know if there was an open kind of book aspect there. It was nearly a shout louder than the other lad kind of a thing. But look, that's the way it is. I think from there, like, just to give it, and it is the opinion of myself here on the Left Wing Back podcast and no one else's opinion, just to cover ourselves with that, like, was the Secretary of Leinster GA concerned, like, about costs and possible loss of revenue because the games might be played in January? And maybe, is there a thought process there that this is the O'Byrne Cup replacement? And does it demean the provincial championship a little bit? Like, attendances, money coming in. He didn't say that, but I'm just thinking, is that going on in the back of the mind? Like, is that possibly a factor? You know, what did you take from it?
Yeah, well, sure. I probably will, I'd say, realistically. I suppose, if you're looking at that way now, I haven't studied the proposals, I'll be honest. I've seen the 2-minute clip on Off the Ball, that was it. What the provincial championships will be in the earlier part of the year, January, February, March. That's sort of like the Camogie do the same.
All the talk. The season is going to be split on. Yeah, there's nothing finalised. Sign, seal, deliver, as the fella said. But, like, there wasn't an overwhelming support. It seems from the outside in, and lads, you would have saw this without seeing the interview and talking about that. The GPA and the players are in favour of proposal B, but it seems like provincial councils maybe aren't. That seems to be a consensus that's happening. So, again, like, that's one other point that maybe I took from the conversation today, where I felt maybe players' opinions were a bit dismissed slightly. Like, they're the ones putting on the show. They're the ones putting in the effort as well at the end of the day. So, I don't know. Like, what do you kind of want to see happening? What would you like to see happening?
Like, I think, like, they're worried about gate receipts. I think if you provide an entertaining game of substance and of a really high standard, you're going to get gate receipts. The reason why you haven't been getting gate receipts in Leinster, say, for instance, is because Dublin are after winning 16, 17 in the last 20 years. Who's won Ulster? You're picking out 3 teams: Tyrone, Armagh, Monaghan. In the last 10, 15 years, Donegal, like, there's a competition now. Anybody could win that. Connacht, Mayo, Sligo threw their hat in, Kerry, Munster. Like, the games are kind of getting diluted. You're waiting for the latter stages to get really entertaining games, really good tussles. Where if you divide it all up, I think once you get a good standard of game, people will come to the gate.
What do you reckon, Tom?
Yeah, I agree with Christy. What Christy is saying. I mean, it's all about games at the end of the day. That's what we want, is games. You know.
And speaking of games, just on schools level, Christy, you know, in the last couple of weeks, Joe wanted
the boom is back.
The boom is back. So schools games are back up and going, which is great. Like, it's been wherever length of time without a game for the chaps and for the girls as well. Like, that's so important in secondary school. Games. I went and played everything I could possibly play. I even went to athletics one day. And you know me, Stevie, you've seen me play. I am not the most athletic, but we used to go to get with school anyway. But still loved it. Still enjoyed it. Like.
Nearest you had, I'd say.
What's that?
You had athlete's foot, I'd say.
Athlete's foot, yeah. Jamie, running away from the abuse that you were giving me. Yeah, but it is big, Christy, and it's important.
Look, youngsters, it's brilliant. Like, we played there, our school in Trinidad in a tie. They have an outstanding team this year. But, like, the last game I played was actually against them in the Leinster semi-final, going on nearly 2 years. I had to go find a bag of jerseys. That's how long it's been. I think it's just a breath of fresh air. Like, there was nothing going on in schools. You're taking away young girls and boys' voices. Like, they weren't able to play hurling or football or camogie or go running or dancing, and to have it back is just brilliant. Probably there'll be principals not worried about the cost of buses and the amount of time being missed. But I think, like, if parents reflected, like, I don't think there's going to be a bigger issue as there was before about kids missing class or that, because it just plays such an important part in life in general. You need to get out. Not everybody's academic. This is their voice, and just to get out of the school building and compete and to do something with a different cohort of players and students. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it. They love it. And it's just great to see, and long may it last now.
Good stuff. And one last comment, unless you want to add anything else, lads. But Tommy, Keith Ricken, the new court manager, he's a guy that's impressed you with comments there lately.
Yeah, he's actually it was a great column there tonight. I was reading it about him, and he was just making the point about, like, at intercounty level, like, he was told he'd have a strength and conditioning coach, stats coach. He's naming off all these things, and it just turned around at the end of the day. It's not science, it's football. It's about getting to know the individual, getting to know the players. That's the most important thing. And which is right. I mean, there's several lot of stuff going on at the moment, but at the end of the day, it's about knowing your players, getting to know your players, sitting down with them, and getting to know them, and so I look forward to seeing how he gets on now, because he had a very successful time with the under-20s and that, in Cork. So it's a big step up for him as well, but I look forward to see how he gets on now.
Same here. Lads, anything else to add then? Are we done?
Done.
All G in the H, all good in the hood. Right, so next Monday we'll rock on again. Just to mention our sponsors, lads, before we finish up on the stream here, On Point Performance Analysis give us a dig out with a bit of sponsorship tonight. They're with us again next week too. Providing video analysis solutions to sporting teams of all levels. You can follow them on social media or email onpointperformanceanalysis@gmail.com. So thanks to Ian Costigan for sorting that out for us. Other than that, as we said, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at the Left Wing Back, or email us at leftwingbackpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe on YouTube. Lads are actually asking that quite a bit. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook to get the live shows. Turn on the notifications on YouTube in particular, and little bell will ring, and next thing you'll know, we're gone live. The audio goes up probably most of the time within half an hour or an hour on Spotify and Apple. It mightn't be shared on social media in the half hour or the hour, but if you're loitering around or whatever and you can't go off to sleep and you want to listen to the dulcet tones of Christy Bulger, Tommy Wogan, and Stevie Bambrick, it does be up a half an hour to an hour afterwards. And most importantly, again, what's that now?
That'll definitely put you asleep.
It will. But most importantly, and I said this to you guys as my guests as well, it's so important for me in particular to try and get this message across to a lot of people that aren't tech savvy. It's the biggest difficulty with the podcast. Like, even going to matches, where can I get that? Is that on the radio? Like, people are just not after adapting to the whole podcast thing and the fact that's going out on Facebook and YouTube. And that's one thing we have done here, bringing it live to the people to make it a bit more accessible, because people are on Facebook and stuff, but they might know how to go in on Spotify and that. So if there's someone out there, just think of like the next generation. Maybe if you're looking at it and maybe you think your father or mother might want to look at it or something like that, and they don't know how to, set up for them and get them looking at it and listen to it. Obviously, I want people listening, looking at it too, but like the stories that we've done, the My Time in the Gansey series in particular, I know there's so many people out there that would enjoy those, but they just haven't got a clue how to access it. So, there's only a certain amount we can do, word of mouth, social media, but we would appreciate if you can pass on the word for us as well. So please do that. We would be very, very grateful indeed. That's where we leave it, lads. Thanks a million again. And we'll chat to you next week. Say that again. What's it? I can't hear you, Stevie.
We're on the world tour. Is that what you're suggesting?
Possibly, yeah. Jesus, anything is possible. A little Outstay broadcast would be nice, wouldn't it, too? Jenny Mac, yeah. If anyone wants to, maybe for the match special there, if anyone wants to, look after us for an outside broadcast somewhere, would be nice to park up in a little pub somewhere, a couple of pints in front of us and talking about live show. Jesus, you wouldn't know what we said. Can't be as bad as us for the last few weeks, anyway. Anyway, that's where we're leaving it, lads. We'll chat to you again soon. Thanks for everyone.